whole point of Main Street is to kind of bring downtown together, right? So our goal is to bring the merchants and the property owners and the community as a whole to really just bring up downtown. And so, there's a few things, right? So it's the community heart of Grants Pass, right? And you heard Kim say it. I mean, people from all over the valley talk about Grants Pass now. I've had people come up to me and talk to me about Grants Pass, saying that it's becoming one of the top places to come visit, even for locals within the Rogue Valley. Obviously, it's an economic engine. Here in Grants Pass, I mean, downtown is our main street, right? We've got 6th and 7th, so it's a really important piece. We've got a lot of people driving through town, especially in the summertime. So, again, economic engine, and obviously the community strength, right? Just bringing the people downtown for events. I don't know if anyone went to Art Along the Road this weekend, but it was a really successful event. I was there. I saw a lot of people. The weather was perfect. So, things like that, and bringing more of those to downtown. And, this is just a stat from Main Street America that, every dollar invested in the Main Street yields roughly $18 in reinvestment. So that's why it's super important. So this is kind of our journey so far. So in 2021, the city council added, the Main Street program to their strategic plan moving forward as an item they wanted to eventually get started. And so then in 2022, Visit Grants Pass contracted out Civic Possible to create a roadmap of what that might look like. And so they went downtown and interviewed a lot of merchants, property owners, community stakeholders, things like that, and put together a really great, I think it was like 70-page document. So, and then in 2024, January of 24, they had an event where we reviewed the roadmap. There was about 70 people there. So it was a great attended event. And they asked for volunteers to start this program that nobody had any idea what it was actually going to do or how to even get it started. So I was one of the people that volunteered to do that. And so here we are almost 2 years later. And so, the whole part of Main Street came out of months of me sitting there not knowing what to do, because I don't come from this world. I come from private sector. I have a business. So starting a nonprofit organization like this, I had no clue. And that's when I kind of bumped into the Main Street America program, which, also we have Main Street Oregon, and then now we have Main Street Grants Pass. And so there's other Main Street programs in Oregon and across America. And so our first win after we got the board established was the King Jewelers building, which we got $400,000 for. Maybe some of you probably heard about that. And so Scott from Partake is renovating that currently. It's supposed to be open hopefully end of next summer. So 2-story wine bar restaurant. That's a huge win for us. We had our 4 pillars of Main Street kickoff meeting, launch meeting, I guess, last week, which I'll talk about here in a minute. And then next Wednesday, we have our hopefully final vote at City Council for some funding, which I'll also talk about in a minute. So the Main Street approach, this is across America. This is kind of the 4 pillars of Main Street. We've got organization, design, economic vitality, and promotion. And so last Tuesday, we had our first kickoff event where we actually had roughly 50 people show up to get involved and join one of these 4 kind of subcommittees of our board. And so I actually just want to share out of that, the whole goal of that meeting was to come up with roughly 3 priorities for each subcommittee to kind of focus on moving forward. So I just want to list those off real quick, just so people can understand. So for the promotions, out of that group, the 3 things were First Friday revitalization, which we've already been working on. So if you've been to First Friday in the last 6 months or so, it's been popping off. It's been really cool. So that's obviously one of the priorities moving forward, to continue that. Work on a holiday season promotion with downtown businesses, and then just new event development, bringing more events downtown like Art Along the Rogue and others, right? So that's promotions. The organization and grant subcommittee. Grant development and management, that's going to be huge for Main Street. A lot of Main Street programs rely on grants to help bring money in and do programs and put on events and things like that. Obviously working on our organizational structure and just community and foundation building and creating partnerships within Grants Pass. Economic Vitality Subcommittee, one of our priorities there is to create a merchant database. And so we want to create something hopefully online where you can go on. It's already sort of created, but we want to add to it. You can see what businesses are downtown, potentially what hours they're open, what properties are vacant for rent, things like that. So as much information as we can gather, and then have it on one probably GIS map system online. Business support network. We want to have some mentoring programs. We want to put on workshops, things like that for downtown businesses, and just bring people together. And then second story revitalization, and that's kind of long term, right? Turning some of these second story buildings into whether that's housing or usable space of any kind. And then the final one, which is the design subcommittee, their three were facade and streetscape enhancements, green infrastructure and beautification, and wayfinding and placemaking. So again, we had a lot of really good discussion out of that, and again, 50 people showed up, and so we're really going to get those kind of kick-started and moving forward. And again, kind of just talked about that. And this is just some stats from Mainstreet America, again, as for some of the impact. Actually, this is Oregon impact from 2011 to 21. So you can kind of see, what a Mainstreet program does and can do. And again, it's one of those things that takes time, right? So it doesn't happen overnight. I mean, I've been working on it for 2 years, and so we've made progress. But again, it's one of those things, especially as a volunteer board. It's just your time that you're committing. And moving forward, our goal is to hire an executive director, and that's hopefully coming up very soon. So, and this is kind of the big thing. When I originally helped found Mainstreet, I really wanted to bring these organizations in as a team, right? Because there's a lot of different organizations in town that do different things, but also some similar things. And so this is kind of our Venn diagram of, Visit Grants Pass, the Chamber of Commerce, Mainstreet Grants Pass, and the city is, kind of all of those things, right? So each of these organizations have something in common, and so that's really what we're trying to do, is create that collaboration and work together. I mean, even on our board, we have the director of Visit Grants Pass as a board member, Terry Hopkins of the Chamber is a board member, and a liaison from the city, right? So bringing all the people to the table and actually trying to make a good progress towards collaboration moving forward. So what's next, and how can you all help? So again, what's next? First of all, next Wednesday, if you have time, if you've never been to a city council meeting, highly recommend it. It's a great time. Bring some popcorn. Be ready to sit for a few hours. But it's at 6 p.m. at City Hall. City Council votes to ideally fund Mainstreet for year one with $100,000. And so again, that $100,000, most of that's going to be spent on an executive director. So we want a full-time person that can hit the streets and really build those connections, right? Because we're all volunteers. We all have full-time jobs amongst other volunteer initiatives. So that's kind of huge for us. And next Wednesday is the final vote. So if they vote yes, then we'll begin hiring an ED. Dive deeper with subcommittees. If you're interested, you can come to me after. I can get your information, put you on the list. Again, we have those 4 subcommittees. We just started them. And if you feel like, you're specific in one area, that's great. Come talk to me. Strengthen partnerships. Again, we want to keep building the partnerships with all the different organizations in town and merchants and property owners downtown alike. So that's also kind of the next step. And, continue to advance historic preservation in some of our downtown areas. And how you can help spread the word. Again, get involved. If you want to join a committee, that's great. We'll have more events coming up that we'll be taking over. So if you want to volunteer for events, we're going to need that. If you have certain skills, again, we're all volunteers, so we're all trying to do things. We're scrappy and we're trying to get it done. And again, the biggest thing is just be a champion. If you can just support Mainstreet. I like to think of Mainstreet as it's never going to hurt someone's business or hurt a property. It can only lift it up, right? Whether or not somebody wants to be fully in support or wants to be involved, regardless, over the long haul, it's gonna bring up all of Grants Pass. You can scan that, brings you to our website. We do have some memberships, and we have memberships for property owners, we have memberships for merchants, and we have memberships for just the general public if you're want to be invested in downtown. And that's kind of partially how we're going to fund this moving forward, along with hopefully the money and partnership with the city. So yeah, questions?
You can't buy if you don't know it's not there. And that was probably not real good English. One thought is you have the visitor center. If you had a large screen where they could click and say restaurants and see the delicious food at the different restaurants, women's clothing. Shoe Fly has some shoes that women just think are fabulous. So letting people know what is in the downtown area when they're next to the deal and just have an interactive, have it playing on a slide deal with 30 by 40. Here's the image for different stores, and then also have a button they can select categories that they can look at, because they may want some fabulous shoes, they may want a fabulous dinner, they may want a great coffee shop to sit down in, or a great barber shop that they didn't know there was one downtown.
Yeah, that's come up. I've thought about that too. I was in Bend recently, and they have something. They don't have like interactive, but they have kind of like the light up billboards in town on the street. You can kind of see what's around. I also, on that note, I do want to say that this doesn't just encompass G Street or H Street, right? So our boundary, I should have put a map up there, but our boundary is C Street all the way to the river, and then it kind of jogs. It's like 8th or 9th or whatever, right? So on either side of 6th and 7th, and then over here on G, it jogs over to kind of like the Glass Forge area, right? So it's a pretty big area, and I think long term, and I've thought about this, is having down towards the river be kind of like our river district, right? I mean, improving some of those properties and bringing more business and traffic that way. I mean, again, that's more long term. Obviously, the heart is right here on G Street and H, but driving more traffic towards the river is going to be huge.
Hey there, Nicholas, part of the DM Amway and back. Hi, I'm part of the Downtown Medford Association, so I'm kind of doing what you guys are doing up here, Main Street program. So quick question for you. How have you collaborated with building and shop owners to do work on the streets? Have you guys got to that point yet? Have you talked to them at all? Because that is one thing we struggle with, is getting them on board to do their part. They think it's someone else's thing to do, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, yes. And I do want to point out, we have some board members in the room that are great. We have a couple here that are actual merchants downtown, and so they've actually been a huge part in that piece, right? I mean, I am downtown, but it's hard for me to always get out and be, in those conversations, just because I do my own thing. So that's huge. That's helped. I think the subcommittees that we started is also going to help a lot. There's a lot more people than we expected. I mean, we were expecting like 10 people to show up, and there's 50. So, but you're right. I mean, it is a struggle. And I think as time progresses, that's the thing. This takes time, right? And we live in a time when it's like want it now, but it's a slow progress, right? I mean, there's certain things that we can get done now, but a lot of them are months, years in the making. So that's always the challenge, though.
Kind of going back to what Jerry was saying about like an interactive thing, we actually have an oversized tablet in our store that we use it for our website, but it has been talked about putting one in the Welcome Center, and you can literally have everybody's websites, you can do interactive things, so that is kind of a thought that is going down. But do you have one or two examples of other projects that towns have benefited from Main Street?
Yeah, so I know, specifically with the Main Street Revitalization Grant, which is one that we got. I mean, those are the ones that I go to instantly. Klamath Falls got one a couple years ago to renovate an upper story, and I think they turned into like 20 units for apartments. Medford's gotten some. I think they did the Holly Theater roof or something like that. Beyond that, I mean, I don't have any real specific ones. I know, like I said, there is some really good main streets in Oregon that have been around for a long time. I was talking to a guy that grew up in the Midwest, and I guess that town is kind of one of the most popular main streets. It's been around for like 30, 40 years, and he says they're to the point where their organization actually purchased commercial property downtown, and then they've renovated it and they rent it out, and that's actually how they partially fund the organization. So things like that, right? Of just bringing up, and obviously bringing people downtown is number one priority, and filling businesses and making that economic driver go forward. But my also thing that I like to think about long term is infrastructure improvement downtown, the upper story revitalization, those type of things make me excited as well. So.
So, Seth, you had mentioned that you're looking for specific skills, or if somebody has skills to kind of step forward. What are some of those skills that you're looking for?
Anything and everything. No, I mean.
Nunchuck skills, cake baking skills.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think promotions for downtown is huge, right? So people that can help with that and have that expertise, which you have a lot of people, right? Even the subcommittee, I think the promotion subcommittee is probably it's the biggest one, right? And I'm not in it, so kind of glad about that. Actually, I do marketing all day, so. But yeah, I mean, but it'd also be nice on the other side, right? Grants, things like that. Actually, some of those.
We need designers. We need people who want to help on the design committee.
Yeah, if you want to not get paid to do a bunch of work, join Main Street. That'd be sick. No, but I mean, some of those kind of behind the scenes things too. Grants, grant writers, people that have that knowledge of what's available. I mean, Kim's been a good resource for that, because those are the things again that move the needle, and they're oftentimes kind of behind the scenes, and it's not as cool as promoting downtown, trying to bring in the money. So. Yeah. That is probably one of the biggest needs, just from what we saw the other night. Grant writing, organizational structure, that world. Yeah.
But if you are interested in promotions and marketing, heck yeah, come talk to us. We're open.
I wanted to this is more of a comment than a question, Seth, but I just wanted to circle back to the gentleman from downtown Medford. If I understood correctly, you were asking how to help the merchants help themselves, kind of, and get the merchants involved. Something that we've run into several times just in discussions with other merchants who own their businesses. A lot of them, probably the majority of them here in Grants Pass anyway, are owner-operators. So when we're having events at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, they can't be there. They're working their business. So when you're doing things and having meetings, I mean, I know not everybody wants to meet at 5:30 at night because that's in the middle of their kids' volleyball games. I get it. But that is something to be really aware of. I think when you're trying to involve the community, you have to involve them at a time that works for them. So just some feedback I wanted to share. And also, there's always going to be the people, it's like, help us help you. And some of the people just are never going to show up for themselves, and you just have to let go and let God, yeah.
Yeah, that's all right. Thanks for the help, though. That was awesome, Claudia. You're working hard over there. I wanted to mention this too. Like Nicholas, that was a great question, comment, and thank you for that. And something else that's happened. So initially, when the Mainstreet program was starting up, it was there's a bigger national Mainstreet program and state level Mainstreet program, and by us applying and becoming a Mainstreet program, we gained access to grant money and other resources we just didn't have access to before. So that was sort of a spearhead to get us involved. And then as it's developed, it started to fill some other needs. And one of those needs was some entity to house the sort of downtown association, right? And so one of the things that's happened is, yes, we have the merchant meetings, and they are hard for some people to participate in, but at the same time, it's still a group that has a voice. And so Mainstreet's also playing a role to interface between the merchants in downtown and the city. And I think part of it is education, like who's responsible for what, and not just responsible, but what can I actually do, and what am I not allowed to do? And so education, I think, is a big piece of it. And through that interface, we can also have other conversations, like, can a fund be created for X, Y, and Z, or things like that. So I think it's really important a group like this, again, starting to house that downtown association and play that role to create that interface, so there's better communication and better education. So yeah.
Just real quick, Trevor, sorry. Where do
Can you use a mic when you talk, please?
you said something? So where do building owners fall into this? Because I know we have a lot of business owners, but they don't necessarily own their buildings. And one of the things that I felt like he was trying to touch on was having building owners pushing back because repairs need to be done, or they live off the rent and stuff like that. So
Yeah, where do building owners fall in the mix? Yeah, I think there definitely is a role that they can play. Should is maybe an appropriate word. But that also isn't necessarily our reality that it's going to happen all the time, right? So the question is what do we do if the building owner isn't doing and fulfilling a role that we as merchants need, or or the city's requiring of us, for instance, or things like that. So I think that those are good discussions that we need to be having, and also through this interface in this group, I think there is just better communication happening with the building owners, with the property owners, because they've been invited in to be part of Mainstreet, and we've been trying to incentivize them, and they have access to grant money and things like that to improve their buildings, and so there is value to them in participating as well. So
And
anything that happens with them actually raises their investment as
sure,
well.
yep.
yeah, I was gonna say, I think long term, as downtown, we start filling some of the vacancies. I mean, it just, I think, creates more of an appetite for property owners to reinvest in their properties. Like that Partake project it's not cheap, and so you have to have people willing to put the money down. I mean, he got $400,000, but it's way beyond that to actually complete that project. So,
Hello, Mr. Benham. I have a couple questions. I have two. How important is Wednesday for the sustainability of Mainstreet, and how can all of us support that effort?
Everybody show up and we'll give you a budget. Please come.
yeah, fill the council chambers. Wednesday is super important. It's been a long road. It's been probably 6 months ever since I got on council. You know, we've been bringing it to council. I think we've presented 4 or 5 times. So yeah, it's been a long road, you know, but it's proven that most main streets are partially funded through the city to their local government. So it's not something that's unusual. It's fairly common, and you know, I foresee it. Hopefully, it's not forever. Hopefully, it's get us off the ground until we can create a revenue stream that can fund us long term. But that obviously takes time and a lot of work. And so, step one is the executive director. You know, somebody that is paid to do the job and can kind of lead that charge. You know, with the board's direction. So yeah, Wednesday's super important. I think it will go. You know, we originally asked for 3 years. The council to just do 1 year. So currently just at 1. And we're going to build out some kind of KPIs, some performance metrics that if, you know, we can hit them, then year 2 and 3 should make sense. You know, and there's always a conversation of it's taxpayer money. But I mean, I think this is a good use of taxpayer money, right? We're putting it into downtown. We're putting it in an organization. I mean, I'm not pocketing any of it. I lose money on this. So this is all for the benefit of the people of Grants Pass, all the taxpayers that live here. So.
And if you're supportive, please show up because filling that room for our support is gonna really show the council members that the community is behind Main Street. So anybody who has time to show up, it is essential for you guys to be there.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, you know, after being on council, you know, 1 negative voice is equivalent to 10 positive voices. So, yeah, the more people we can have show up in favor, the better. You know, obviously during a council meeting, there's public comment section. So if you want to say something, great. If not, just show up and just be in the room.
I was just gonna say that's a great segue to my second question. Actually, while it's exceedingly rare, occasionally I do bump into a nattering nabob of negativism, and who derives great satisfaction in trying to undo what many people are trying to do. How could you best equip us to counter those people that would like to not see this go?
You probably know better than me.
Yeah, Dan, what do you want to say? You're so good at putting
Yeah.
Do you want me to answer my own question?
Yeah, answer your own question, please.
All right. So, I've seen some of the most dynamic, professional, excited people, merchants, residents, my own daughter, who are working hard every day to make something Grants Pass has never been, which is hopeful. Right now, we have an opportunity to concentrate on the future rather than reinforce the stereotypes that people assume. We have an opportunity to envision what we want to be, to build Grants Pass into a thing that we want to be, to where young people, young entrepreneurs, like have the confidence that they've got the support of the city, of Main Street, of the chamber, of Visit Grants Pass, you name it. Let's keep the energy local. Let's be optimistic. Let's be hopeful. Let's make an investment. Right now, there's a lot of decisions being made based on fear. Because we have problems, like so many other municipalities do. But if we're going to be hostages to the problems rather than take advantage of the opportunities, we're already doomed. So my ask is please show up on Wednesday. Make your voice heard. You get 2 minutes. Stand there and tell them that the most important thing that we can do is rally, that we can focus on tomorrow rather than the problem that we have today.
And a lot of those problems disappear when you build community.
100%. Guess what happens?
So many of those problems go away when you have a robust community.
When there is a vacuum, someone will fill it. And when the hardworking, good residents of town don't want to come downtown, guess who fills that? Guess what occupies that space? So if we have an organization and a group of people that are willing to put in the time, do the elbow grease, we can bring people downtown. People can prosper. Businesses can thrive. And you just force out the negativity. And you change the narrative. You create the direction rather just acquiescing to the path of least resistance.
I also think that in situations like this, it's really critical for some of us to have very succinct two-line talking points because it helps us wrap our minds around how we're going to show up, right? And say a cohesive message, but that we have it in our back pocket. So it's not, oh, I have to craft this language right on the moment to know exactly how to refute kind of this energy that's coming at me. But if I have a one or two sentence that I can show up and just say it, and if everybody's hearing that same positive message about what's happening, it's easier for some people who feel stressed in that situation of combating them. Okay?
So we need to craft a 30-second elevator speech that everybody can kind of pull from, in essence.
Easy so that we have it top of mind. Okay?
That makes sense. And
The biggest
Good.
thing right now is that they can get involved on a subcommittee. If you are opinion, you can get involved on a subcommittee. You are welcome to the table to sit with us. Period. If you have a question or a concern or you don't like how something's going, please show up to a subcommittee. Please reach out.
But I think she's talking more about like at the meeting necessary, right? Like there's like what you
Or
would say at the
anywhere,
city
right?
council.
Because you're going to come up with this, people talking bad about this everywhere we're at, right? And so if you just have it in your pocket, it's not, I don't have to own it, but I appreciate what's happening and I can say, I actually do back this and here's why, right? Just like Dan said, but put it in a one-sentence talking point that I can share.
And one thing that you said, Seth, when we were at the subcommittees is the pushback they're getting from the council is that Grants Pass is apathetic, that we don't care, that as a community, this doesn't matter to us. And by everyone showing up, that changes, again, shifts the narrative. I mean, you put all these people in one room that support it and think that this is an amazing idea, then that changes their thought process as well.
Can I have a turn yet?
Can we give Dan a hand for what he shared?
Dan's president of Mainstreet now. Good luck.
This conversation's amazing, and really what I would love to do is invite everybody to come to the next Mainstreet session, which will be published and very visible, and have these conversations. I would love to, for the last couple of minutes that we have, try to bring it back a little bit and focus on how Mainstreet can help support entrepreneurism and new businesses and the businesses that are running in downtown, and questions geared towards sort of, again, just sort of refocusing a little bit on 1 Million Cups and the purpose of this event itself. I love this conversation, and afterwards, I would love for you all to continue your conversations at your tables. But if there are any last questions or comments regarding entrepreneurism and businesses, yeah, Lance, go ahead.
They say patience is a virtue.
And I am not yet possessed.
Okay, I've been thinking about this for a long time. Let's say we bring in 4 times the volume of people from the surrounding communities. We're pulling people from Medford to come over to partake and all these other great places, and that's great and wonderful. What's the one thing I hate about Portland, other than Portland? It's the damn parking. It's great. I've got a lot over here, and it's got like 14 people parked in it, and that's all great, and it looks beautiful. But you're not going to add more people if we're going to add more people. The infrastructure needs to change. So the question of the day is, could you think about, in your feasibility long-term thought process and funding, build a parking garage, multi-level, that would be multi-level, not the 2 stories that we plan and project here that we can only build in for purposes of the city thought process, and use that as a funding mechanism for the organization to be able to do that. Because when you bring people in, then they're paying for the parking. They can get a little tax deduction on that because they're going to do all this fun stuff. And is there land that you can identify within close proximity, which I can tell you exactly where I would build one.
If we had the money, we would have done it.
I would have already done it.
10 years ago.
But I'm going to give you a nugget here. Look for land that you can build up and build a parking structure near downtown, and make it feasible for you to be able to collect those funds through that, because it'd be 501c3, so it's all tax exempt. Sorry, city, tax exempt. But in that reality, it would help you with that funding scenario. Has that been thought of yet?
Yes and no. Yes and no. That's my answer. That's a long term for sure. I've had many conversations about this, about parking specifically, and the parking garage. So, what that looks like in the future. So, yeah. It,
There is a parking lot where the growers market is, and I'm not saying your idea is not fantastic, but I think it comes back to educating people that there's a full ass parking lot where the growers market is that is always empty, and it is a block and a half away. I understand that it may not be the best case scenario, but it is very close to downtown.
I don't disagree with that. I'm just saying, if you're going to bring more people in,
Yeah.
you're going to have that infrastructure added. So if everything's on a one-level flat,
Yes.
that's all
And
I'm
now
saying.
parallel parking.
Yeah, I hear you.
It's still not being utilized. Currently, it's not being utilized to its fullest potential. So.
Okay, sorry, I do have to weigh in on this one because this is this is one of my platforms. This is one of my pet projects. If you don't know me, I'm the mayor of Grants Pass. Yes, it's called the Grasshopper Parking Lot, right behind the post office. My 4-year goal is to build a 6 to 7 story parking garage behind there. 6 stories puts it at the same elevation as the current post office. And the idea that I have is to actually start the city to build it out with a partnership with the businesses in town, because the businesses can actually utilize and lease spaces in this parking garage for their employees during the weekday. So there could be a partnership with local businesses for contribution to actually help it get built. The city has resources for grants, for development grants and so forth to help it get built. During the weekends, it'd be pay for parking. We have a couple places where the growers market could land if that was built, but yeah, that's part of my 4-year plan, and I don't know if we can get her done in that time, but I'll be pushing, and I would like to have further the conversation with any one of you on that topic in the near future. So it's something we're thinking about, and I'm dreaming about.
one last question.
Yeah, this one back to nuts and bolts. I do electrical contracting. We've done several remodels down here, like the Bohemian, Wonderbur. We just finished a 2nd floor tattoo. I was just wondering how contractors, do you have a list of people that, because it takes power upgrades sometimes in the alleyways and this area of the city. Just wondering if there's a list or like a trusted contractor list that the Main Street is running or what?
There isn't currently, but it's a great idea. I do think we need to add that to, one of our items moving forward. So yeah, I mean, talk to me after. I mean, I think, having that just readily available is huge, not only for Main Street, but anyone in downtown, property owners, even business owners. So it's a great idea. And I would say Trevor's topic about bringing this back to entrepreneurship, I think, like I said, one of our big things moving forward is workshops, trainings. Kim is going to be a huge part of that. So, once we get to that point, I'd like to come back and present again on specifically that, right? Those workshops for entrepreneurs, business owners, downtown and abroad. So, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Seth, for everything.
Thanks for everyone answering all my questions for me. That's great.
So, Seth, because you have presented before and you already have the orange mug, you now have our incredible 1 million cups notebook and pen. Thank you so much. So you can jot down all those notes from all the people that just shared something with you. Yeah, perfect. All right. Hey, thank you all for being here today. Again, the support and the growth is incredible and so appreciated. The passion that you all bring to the topics, again, so appreciated. And we are, again, we're excited to continue to bring more. Kim, who do we have next week? Oh, yeah, Ian and Lori next week. Yep. Fantastic. Do we have one or two? We have two next week. Awesome. So we have a packed week next week. Do not miss it. We are excited to see you all back here and appreciate you a lot for being here. All right. See you 9:30 next week.